movie fans. We are here to provide our spoiler review of Stranger Things Season 3 from Netflix. If you haven't seen the first couple seasons, I would advise going to go see that first. And if you haven't seen Season 3, don't watch this review. We're going to talk about all the things that we love about Stranger Things Season 3. So stick around and check out what we think about it. So we're going to talk about Stranger Things Season 3 and our favorite scenes, spoiler stuff about it, what we think about the whole show. So let's start with kind of our typical only adjectives. How would you describe Stranger Things Season 3?
Stranger Things.
Stranger Thingsy, okay.
Yeah.
Disgusting.
Disturbing.
Yeah, gross, definitely gross.
Disturbing,
Yeah.
kind of gross.
As in it normally is.
Yeah,
I think it was a little more.
It was fun. It was funny, and it was exciting.
More right side up.
Yeah, it was a lot more right side up, right, than upside down. And I think it was really, I think it was a good season, better than Season 2.
Yeah.
So how would you guys rank all the seasons? Again, presuming you've seen, we've all seen all the seasons, but presuming the viewers have seen the seasons, how would you rank your seasons?
We all agree it's 1 through 2.
Yeah, it's 1 through 2 because the 2 wasn't great. It was slow, and then they had the whole 11's Chicago thing, and no one needed that.
And it was not as scary either with the Demodogs. Like it had its moments, but overall, Season 1 was very
predictable.
very much like it had its horror moments, and there were good horror moments, and there were scary moments, and that was good, and that was a big part of what the show was all about. And then Season 2 with the Demodogs, it was not anywhere near as horror filled.
In Season 3,
Season 3 is sort of a mix. Like personally, I don't find the monster in Season 3 to be as scary as the Demogorgon. The Demogorgon was terrifying, and I loved it. It was great. But then this one, it's creepy looking, and yeah, it's big, and it's a creepy monster, and it definitally has moments where it's scary.
It's made out of dead people.
Yeah, it's made out of dead exploded people.
I mean, it's
but
pretty
but
awful.
that's different though than this 9 foot tall monster with the mouth. That's what Dustin said. I don't agree.
The Demogorgon is 9 feet tall.
I don't think it was 9 feet tall.
I mean, this one was like 30 feet tall.
Well, yeah, but it's this 9 foot tall thing that has like a human form to it, so that makes it creepier. When it's a human form, but it's like not quite right, then it falls perfectly into like the uncanny valley, and it's great. But it's got like the face that's a mouth, and it's creepy because it like sneaks around and you don't know where it is. But this giant hulking monster, it's not as creepy in that aspect.
This is why Tommy wants to
where
watch Season 4 so much, is because they're going to bring back the Demogorgon.
Yeah, because that thing
on
post credits.
that,
Yeah.
I didn't really see much of the scary stuff in Season 1 because it was really scary. And in Season 3, I didn't watch many explosions of people. But at the end, he thought it was like completely disgusting and terrifying. But I could watch it because it wasn't that bad, really.
His stomach.
With I didn't like the. I thought it was cool, but I didn't like the little like tentacle things that came out to try to grab people but it wasn't its mouth. They had the big mouth, but then it had the other tentacles that came out to grab people in the stores and
sure, at least one thing came out of its mouth.
There was like several different things, but some came out of its legs and stuff. But anyways, I didn't like those things. I thought they were cool looking, but they were scary looking, I think too, and kind of gross. All of it was gross.
I was fine with it, and I think Ryan for the most part was fine with it too.
Yeah.
But they
I wasn't fine with it. I wasn't cowering in fear and covering my eyes.
I wasn't like looking away during any of the things. Like I'm fine with it, but I know it is disgusting.
The only time I looked away is when they all threw up. They threw up over a couple
that
episodes.
Was the only
That's
when
when
I
I
was
looked away.
Oh, we don't need to see that.
Yeah.
You can show us the people explode.
So the things, so the things that you liked most. Oh, sorry. What were you gonna say about Season 3? Anything compared to the other seasons?
I was gonna come back to it.
Okay. What was?
The Demogorgon, I watched the last episode of the first season, but I didn't see it much before, except the end of the third season was, the last scene, very freaky, just the way it was, coming out under there and the music, I was like, this is gonna haunt my nightmares. So it did, like, the Demogorgon does seem scarier.
See, but you don't think, like, when you see the giant monster in season 3, you don't think, like, this is gonna haunt my nightmares, right?
I mean, it's actually a little bit, like, different scary in season 2 when it's kind of just, like,
yeah, the
huge
Mind
in there.
Flayer in season 2, it's huge. In
You're
that,
like,
the
what
Mind
is
Flayer in
this thing
season
gonna
2,
do?
yeah, you're like, what's it gonna do? But I don't feel like it's like an immediate threat.
It's
I guess.
intimidating, but it's not really threatening.
Yeah, it doesn't feel
I'm
like
scared it's gonna
scary.
start moving towards you.
Yeah, exactly.
But
Whereas
it's smoky.
the season 3 Mind Flayer is much like it's got that creepier aspect than the season 2 one.
It's gonna eat you.
But it's nothing compared to the
Sure.
Demogorgon.
If they made it more smoke monster from Lost,
Probably
like
not.
the Mind Flayer, like it could actually like attack and hurt people. Like it attacked Will, but it didn't really.
I don't know. I
anything,
feel like
it would've been
the
better.
smoke monster from Lost. I was not like scared. Like it,
I wasn't
it was not
scared of it, but it
wasn't
was
scary.
more when you knew it was there that it could actually hurt people and like kill them. It became a little more
Yeah.
threatening than this giant thing just walking around.
So, getting back to Stranger Things season 3, what are the things that you really liked? What were the things you really liked about it, or didn't like about this season?
I thought the whole Russians and Hawkins thing was a good '80s kind of gimmick bit thing.
Yeah, so they had a lot of cool 80s references like all the other seasons have had.
I kept
This one had a Russian, so the 1980s was about the Soviets and, you know, the Cold War and things like that. And so they had that cool kind of 80s, or in the 80s, the bad guys were always the Soviets and the Russians, like Red Dawn and, man, I can't think of the other movies. But in general, it
Hunt
was
for
the bad
October?
guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Hunt for Red October, those kind of things. And then they did they did a good job with that, and they had yeah, and then we talked about the Terminator kind of reference.
Oh
with
yeah,
the
the Terminator.
The Die
vibe
Hard
that was
reference
going
that
on.
had not.
they had to be a Die Hard reference, and it didn't movie didn't come out yet. But like the guy, the big
Probably
Russian
not.
guy that's trying to go after them is clearly supposed to be like the
It's
Terminator.
very Terminator.
So
right?
the whole Russian thing, it did have a lot to do with the story. I just didn't really care that much for it. Like if there
Yeah.
had been more upside down Demogorgon-y stuff, that's like what makes it Stranger Things and not just the people trying
One
to kill
thing
you.
fun I thought about it is since it was during the 80s, I didn't notice this, I didn't pick up on this too much in the other seasons, but since they spent a lot more time at StarCourt Mall, I kept on continuously asking, like, just everyone, like, why is that the way that it is? I was like, why is their hair so stupid? It's the 80s. Why is that stupid? It's the 80s. That's the only response I got, because everything just looks so weird.
Yeah.
But because it looks very contemporary, like it's
Yeah.
very true to
It
the
was
time
the
period.
80s.
I
Yeah.
think two
Like, why
or
was,
three maybe.
why was Elle wearing front suspenders?
Oh yeah, it was the
It was
80s.
the 80s.
I have a few like minor complaints about it, which is the 80s vibe. I like it and it's good. This is definitely the season that feels the most 80s, and I feel like that's because they never let you forget that it's the 80s. They push it a little bit
like
too
Kingsman.
hard. Like in the past, I was completely fine with it. And wait, is Kingsman set in the 80s?
Well, no, King that's set in the 80s, but like they explained, is it's basically a James Bond movie. The only way to commit to it's not is by constantly referencing James
Oh,
Bond
yeah,
movies.
Yeah, but this, so it felt 80s the entire time, and I was fine with that, but they never, like, backed off of it a little bit. Like, it would have been fine if in the beginning they were pushing it, and then as the season went on, they kind of backed off of it, but it was, like, the hairstyles and the clothing, like, they never did that in the past. They never did, like, the extreme ridiculousness.
They did. It just wasn't. Yes, this was
wasn't as
really
extreme.
pushed, and then the soundtrack too.
Oh,
Yeah,
I was
very
fine with the
80s.
soundtrack.
Well, I mean, it was good, but like they would just like push it every other song was a classic song from the 80s. Even in the end of the ending song, or the ending stuff where it went a little too far with the Never Ending Story song.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it was funny, but it was a little
It
bit
went
too
far.
much. Like,
It went too far. And then
Yeah,
also,
Urgent Mission.
another one of my criticisms is that in the past seasons, it's all felt very connected. The people have felt connected to each other. And in this one, the people felt very
They
disconnected,
spent
which
so much time doing separate
things, which was one of the themes of it, was that Mike was like pushing away his friends and stuff. But that didn't apply to some other characters where they were all sort of doing their own thing. And then in the end it came together, which I'm fine. I liked how there were separate things happening with, like, the Russians had this goo. How is this connected to the Mind Flayer, which is connected to this portal there? And I like how that sort of came together in the end. But the people came together in the end. But I wish that they had started off sort of together, and they all, especially the Joyce Byers and then the Hoppers stuff. They
Yeah.
were completely off on their own the whole thing and had like nothing to do with anybody else. And I just wish that they had been a little bit more together.
I think they did a good job with, like, if you got 12 different characters, they can't all be running around together all the time.
Well, no,
so
I'm
I
not
feel
saying
like they
together.
did. I feel like they did a good job having separate storylines that all wound up together in some way, because it had to be different somehow. They couldn't just be like, all kids are gonna all be hanging out
Yeah,
at the
but
same time this time.
I felt like Joyce Byers and Hopper never, they pretty much never interacted with a few of the characters until the end.
Yeah.
Like there were a few characters that they never talked to, and then they came together in the end, and they're like, oh, we found this, and then they're like, oh, so now this makes sense, that does that. But I just wish that they had at least been there like in the beginning and done and realized something, or something had brought them together in the beginning.
I thought the Russian Terminator wasn't in it that much, but that's maybe a good thing because I didn't like him anyway, and I didn't really like Hopper and Joyce's whole
Storyline.
different quest. I mean, I liked Alexi, but that didn't really have anything to do with it.
You went on
They
too
were-
long.
Yeah, they weren't upside downy, and I don't really like scary, disgusting things, but that is one of the.
do that. I don't have a whole lot to say on it, but things that I liked. I liked the addition of a couple new characters. I liked Robin. And I liked Erica. You know?
Let's go America without Erica.
Oh yeah, the sister, yeah.
Yeah, Lucas' sister Erica. I thought they were good.
Yeah.
And Alexi. You know, I mean, he didn't last.
Yeah, he wasn't in much of
Oh,
it.
wait.
I thought it was sad
But-
I
that
was scared
Alexi
for a
was
stuffed
Hold
animal.
on.
I just wanted someone to get it.
What was that?
I was scared for a stuffed animal that he won.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah, because he got the
Didn't
stuffed
want it to
animal.
get stolen.
I think he got shot.
I mean, I thought it was sad. I thought it was
Oh,
sad when he
really?
got shot. Like when Alexi got shot, I was like, oh no, Alexi got shot. Like that mattered.
Then he died. I don't think he was
Yeah,
gonna die.
yeah, he died, but that mattered though, because he was in there and he was just like a nice person. He was helping them out, and I was like, oh, that's sad
Right.
that he died.
Right. The Mind Flayer part, I think, is interesting because right when it started happening, you didn't really know what it was and what was gonna happen.
Didn't know rats
With
were
it-
gonna explode.
Right, and then the rats come and explode, and then they started joining together, and like the immediate thought was, I think you had the
Rat
thought
King.
was the Rat King, because there are such things
look
like
it up.
these. Yeah, you don't. Well, if you want to Google it, okay, it's just weird.
Don't like a picture.
Yeah, it's a Rat King's kind of like a urban legend about these rats like in sewers and stuff that would get tied up together, like they'd get so gross and like in the sewer, and then their tails would all entwine together, and they could get to be like these big giant balls basically of like living rats, right?
It's
Wow.
like it's mostly like circles.
Circular.
It's like a ring
Yeah.
of them. Like, it's really
Okay,
weird.
but it's like
Ring
big
around.
giant.
And they do exist. Like a lot in Germany, they have like
Well, I would say a lot.
mummified rat
Yeah.
kings.
I mean, it's not like you
Actually
turn your
in
corner.
museums.
There's always your rat king.
I'm guessing
but, you
it's
know,
not just Germany, right? It's probably others.
I mean, it's got
If it happens in
around
Germany, it's not like German rats are like, you like to be
Most
rat
of the
king.
war is.
Yeah, so it's like you turn the corner. There's
You're like,
oh,
da, or not
there's-
da, whatever. It was like nine, no rat king.
There's just like, oh, your standard Tuesday rat king on the sidewalk over there, you know.
But not like a big ball, but like, you know.
A lump.
I like to imagine this
Circle
as a big ball
yeah.
because it makes me feel like it's like, and like it somehow forms like a giant
like
rat.
Indiana Jones.
Like it's
gonna
like
roll
it gets
down.
its own sentient being of like a giant rat, one big giant rat
Does
king.
it just form into a rat in your brain?
Yeah,
it's just a big rat.
It's like 100 rats that all just
Yeah.
like into like one
Like a
giant
Wreck-It
like
Ralph
super
2
rat.
thing, yeah.
Exactly,
All
yeah.
the Ralphs forming
Or
into a giant
Voltron,
rat.
like a Voltron rat.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Rats, come on.
yes, come on, the powers. And then,
You're like Rat King, roll out.
yeah, exactly.
Different show. but
So
still.
we thought about that being the Rat King, and then when we found that actually like all their goo combined together, and then all the people when they exploded, all their goo combined together, it was kind of like a Rat King. Like then it became the Mind Flayer. Which
Did
I
it
like
do
that.
stuff with its mind that made the rats do it?
Yeah, I think it was compelling them to like explode. I don't know
What did
how.
it start with?
Compels you.
Was it just like it's particles, coming
Yeah, it
out
was
of
like
the-
it was like a it was kind of like that smoke monster. It was like from Lost. It was like that weird.
I'm not saying
We
that.
weren't sure what it was, but somehow then it turned into this gross thing. And then later on, the people exploded and turned into gross things too.
Yeah. Also,
I
another
don't think they
thing I was
actually
like,
exploded. I think they more like.
Melted.
wait, the rats?
The rats exploded.
exploded.
The rats
The
exploded. The
people
people
just kinda
melted
melted.
into
Yeah, the
goo.
people melted into the goo and
That
formed
was
that
gross.
hallway monster in the hospital, whatever that thing was. But and also another thing I want to bring up: their CG budget much bigger,
Much
bigger.
Yeah.
I mean,
budget. Yeah.
so like that's not to say like the CG was better in this, but that's not to say that the CG in the past seasons was bad or anything. Like it was still good, but there wasn't as
There
much
was
of it.
ability to do more because
Yeah,
they
they
had
could
the
do
bigger
more with
budget.
this, and probably I don't know. I don't want to say a little bit too much, but there were more.
They
CG
couldn't have done the
shots in this movie.
exploding people and rats
Yeah.
and the
Yeah,
goo
and the
stuff.
melting.
in
But I'm
the
saying like
previous
that beginning exploding shot was cool, and I really liked it. But that wouldn't have been in the first season. Like if this was the first season, they couldn't have done that.
Yeah.
And it still would have been fine because they wouldn't have had as big of a budget. And all the CG, it looked great.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of it.
I thought they.
So it
I
was
thought
good.
they used the CG
Yeah.
money well. It was good.
Yeah.
Good effects. And so the end credits stuff. I guess they weren't really end credits. They were like the last scenes of this because it's a
It
TV
was
show.
basically the end credits.
But yeah, the stinger stuff where you're like, oh, what's still going on after everything else
Like,
kind of
ooh,
wrapped
you're
up.
terrified.
And then there's
Um,
the dandruff falling from the sky,
so-
and then it turns out
so
not to be the
just-
upside down.
Okay, so describe what.
So, yeah, so the credits were rolling for what it was, and then some sort of powder came down, and he thought it might have been the upside down dandruff. That's what we call it, because it looks like dandruff. And then it turned out to be Russia when they were
Snow.
still doing what?
Snow.
Yeah, like inside.
Yeah,
the
it's gonna be
stuff.
snow in Russia when they were doing the thing, and they're in a base, and then there were
like from the beginning of the show in the first couple scenes, right?
Yeah.
And it's like where they were trying
First
to
one,
access the
not seasons.
first episode for this season.
Yeah. And so they knock on a door, and the guy says, "Not the American," which we assume is Hopper because we think Hopper's probably still alive.
Yeah, it's
He's
probably
working
too
through
easy
it.
to like have Hopper disintegrate. Well,
Yeah.
because he was behind the wall when the whole thing blew up. Like
We thought he got sucked into the
barrier.
upside down.
I think he got. Yeah, I thought he got sucked into the upside down. I think probably he just got passed through the upside down, and then because it was like 3 months later or something like that. So maybe he was in the upside down and, they
then
got him out. But
They said, "Not the American." They got some more other guy. He was pleading for his life. They threw him in a cage, and then they opened a door, which inside it turned out to be a 9-foot tall Demogorgon, the same one from season 1 that ate the
think.
guy.
we think it could be just
It
the.
wasn't like
It might be
Well, it could be like
It
the-
already
Yeah.
exploded.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
yeah,
I think it could.
Alex
They show that there might be like little like eggs. I think at the end. Of
Well,
that
and
one.
also
Yes.
because the Demodogs they turn into Demogorgons
I was
when they
gonna
get
suggest
big
that,
enough.
except I'm
Oh.
pretty sure they looked like not gray.
No, they turn into gray ones because you can see the color change throughout season 2. When they get bigger, then they turn because they start off like really green. When it was like the polywog or whatever,
Oh, yeah.
he was like really green and stuff, and then
Uh-huh.
it slowly turned like less green as it got bigger. And they did say, I think at one point, that if they get big enough and like keep eating, they will turn into a full size Demogorgon.
Oh yeah, they did
So
say
they
that.
hatch from the
Yeah.
eggs.
So it wasn't
and
the
they
same
turn
one,
into
but
those.
they do have a Demogorgon, which means pretty much in season 4 they're going to bring the Demogorgon
And you have
in
to-
some aspect
right,
back.
and we'll have to figure out.
How much poison?
Another thought. They said like don't feed the American to the Demogorgon, which is a good thing. But what are they using him for?
I don't
Right.
know.
Yeah.
Right, and when they've got him captured, so it'll clearly have to be something about figuring out where Hopper is and having the Demogorgon, and so it sets it up to a good next season.
Which that was also my favorite part of season 3. Was the Demogorgon coming out? Because I had been hoping throughout the whole season. I was like, they need to bring back. I want them to at least show a Demogorgon. So then, because that was my favorite part of Stranger Things. So then
Okay.
they showed it, and I was like, yes. And then they had like the Demogorgon theme playing.
Well,
It was
but-
great.
What is your rating of out of 5? I don't know, out of 5, whatever you want to exploded things, or melted things. Yeah, out of
Someone
5,
form a
out of
crowd.
5 Rat Kings, each one being its own. What would be your rating for season 3 of Stranger Things?
4. Or maybe like 4.25. Because I mean, it's definitely not as good as the first season, like Tommy says, which is good with the Demogorgon and the whole introductory thing. The second season, we don't need to talk about that. And then this season was pretty good. It wasn't as good as the first season, but I liked it. So 4.25.
I'd give it 4 Rat Kings out of 5.
Okay.
Yeah,
Tom?
I give it 4 Rat Kings out of 5, and for comparison, I give the first one 5
Okay.
out of 5 for like in its own right, like as a Netflix show, or as a show in general. I give it, like, compared to other shows, then I give it 5 out of
Yeah.
5. And then the second season, it has its moments where it's good, and it has its moments where it's horrible. So I give that one like a 2.5 out of 5
Oh,
overall.
wow. Oh,
2.5, maybe 3 overall.
I would give this season a 4 out of 5. I really enjoyed it a lot more than the second season, and not quite as much as the first season. But I would say a 4.4. I give it a 4 Rat Kings out of 5 for this third season of Stranger Things. Rachel?
I give the third one a 4.3. Radio towers.
Radio Towers? Oh, that's true. We didn't even really talk about
Cerebro?
those, but-
Cerebro and Susie. And
Yeah,
stuff. Yeah.
and Susie and stuff. So that was a fun part of
Thought
it.
Yeah.
the never-ending story went on a little bit too long.
Yeah.
It was funny, but okay, you need to save the world now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
But-
do maybe to like one thing.
But,
You
no,
have to.
but again, overall, we binge watched the whole thing in about
2 days.
2 days. Yeah, and so we saw all 8 episodes in 2 days. So clearly, we liked it. Thanks for watching our spoiler review of Stranger Things season 3. If you've seen it, and comment below. Like if you found this useful or fun, and
Make
share
to
what.
subscribe.
Yeah, make sure to provide your comments below of the things that you like most about Stranger Things season 3, or if you agree or disagree with what our thoughts were, and if you liked one of the other seasons better or worse than we did too. So we look forward to hearing more from you guys. Thanks. Bye.